Andy, you're flicking through one currently. That's the word.
Really
it is sumptuous.
Fabulous.
They don't get. Books like that are very expensive to make, and they don't get made very often because there's a lot of resource, both in words and pictures. It's called Call of the Warrior, and they call it a groundbreaking exploration of the world of boxing. And we said the supplier of the words is our old mate Gareth A Davies of Fight Night fame here on talkSPORT and the Telegraph. And one of the fine photographers who've been taking the pictures in the book of the boxes is Sonya Jasinski. Good to see you both.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Full disclosure, I'm nervous.
Very proud of this book.
Yeah,
really.
so
very proud.
How did it all come about?
Well, it's all Sonia's fault. It took 5 years, and well, you can explain. You met Barry Hearn and you became friends with him, didn't you?
I did sort of over 12 years ago, but before that, I've been doing photography and music for a long time, and started going to Nashville and basically started archiving photos of sort of unknown artists a long time ago, and eventually decided to put all those photos of these unknown musicians into a coffee table book, and they all sort of went on to win Grammys but the photos were unstaged, like black and white reportage, nothing staged, where you can really see the characters of these artists, and the book did well. And I've always loved boxing. My dad raised my sister and I on boxing, and I've always found it electric. And I just thought there's no book like this, like the Nashville book, and with boxing, there's no proper sort of coffee table book. There's a lot of stuff on Muhammad Ali, and I came up with this idea to do this book and said to Barry, I've got this idea, what do you think? And he said, it's great. And I said, look, I need someone to write the essays, give me the words to go in with the photos. And he said, I've got your guy, and put me in touch with Gareth. And that was it, and that was 5 years ago.
Wow! So it's been a long time in the making.
You are the perfect bloke to do this book because you have a real deep love of boxing, not just a sort of superficial love, but a deep appreciation.
You've been chatting to us for 24 years on the show, so you've been around the fight game for a long time.
It was more when Sonya came to me and said, what do you think about this concept of looking behind the lives? And that's totally what I'm into, that. I love the narrative, the background stories, the tales of redemption, and that's what this book is really. And what we managed to do, I mean, COVID got in the way, the lockdown got in the way for 2 years pretty much for travelling. We can go to America for 17 months at one point. But the depictions, the photographs are amazing in the book, and I find myself looking at the photos, which is what you do, and then you go back to the essays, and you can open it on any page. And all the things that I've learnt about boxing and boxers and fighters in the last 34 years, I've tried to pour into there, just about what people go through, that they're funny at times and vulnerable, quite vulnerable human beings, a lot of them, and a lot of that's in the book. And all the people in it, 29 essays of all the big names of today. I mean, that does include, you pointed out very quickly that Jake Paul and KSI are in there, Andy. But,
we're not sure about that.
But no, but we decided in the end to put them in there.
Where's Henry Cooper?
Where's Henry Cooper? Yeah, but he will be in volume 3. But there was just a feeling that they're in the milieu today. They're causing, they're disrupting.
Part of the story.
They're part of the modern narrative. And as I say, I can't believe we've got to the end of the book because it did take a lot of work. And as Sonya told me while I was having my heart attack, then I had a stroke, then I had a blood clot, then I had a bleed on the brain. She kept saying, "Don't you dare die before you finish."
I know he didn't. I realized
right.
now how bad that was. He didn't take it very well. He was like, "You're hexing me. You're hexing me." Now I look back and I can't believe I even said that to him.
Sonya, you really are a fabulous photographer because you managed to make Gareth look a real hunk here.
That has a lot of work on the system.
Exactly. That
You are anyway,
thousands of photographs to
many
get
hours
those
in Photoshop. So you probably went in with some preconceptions. You've taken lots of pictures to musicians and people and like that who were kind of set up to do that sort of thing. So when you're in and around boxers, was it different from what you expected, or did they just sort of get on with it when you were there?
I think it's like with anyone that's sort of like an amazing in their genre, it's always a fascinating thing. It's like when I did the Nashville book, I was really taking the pictures to get into the core of who they are. So I'm an emotional photographer. It's like I'm always connected to anyone that just lives and breathes what they do. So yes, I mean, look, it's similar. You know, you always want to get close enough to somebody to capture them, but then not cross the line either, and just make sure you're not sort of overstepping the mark. It's such a fine line, photography, when it's actually reportage. It's almost harder. But I think everyone's just was amazing, I thought, on our journey.
But we
very
went together.
welcoming.
We went together to go into training camp with Saul Canelo Alvarez. That was really amazing in San Diego.
But this photo of him with his entourage, where he's just looking at his phone, it's a wonderful photo because clearly it's almost as if they don't know you're there. That's a really brilliant thing.
Right. I mean, obviously there's so much control in all of this as well. You know, everybody, there'd be a load of people around all these guys saying, don't take pictures of this, don't take pictures of that. So that could be an issue. Was that ever an issue?
Well,
or did they...
no, the only one time was when we showed up to San Diego, and Canelo and his camp said yes to the book. And I got there before Gareth, and it was like this mysterious place in San Diego. I just got an Uber. I don't even know where it was now. And I sort of showed up, and the guy on the door was like, I'm not sure if the champ's going to be ready for you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. And I'm like, cool, just flown all the way from London, but hey, it's worth a go. And let us in, and everything was just cool, and sort of like...
good.
Oscar De La Hoya gave us time that day. We couldn't get rid of him. He just wanted to chat about everything. It was the same when we went to New York. Bob Arum had us into his hotel with his wife Lovey, and Tyson Fury. I was on tour with him doing on stage stuff like a year and a half ago before he went mega big, and he was brilliant with you in the green room and everything. And the Ryan Garcia shots, I mean, he looks like a Hollywood starlet. That day you had with him as well.
But even going back to Bob Arum, because it was like his favorite hotel, the St. Regis in New York, and he was with in his suites with his wife, and they were just like, him and his wife were just loving on each other, and it was just so nice taking pictures of her kissing him, and then we got in a car with him, actually.
We did, in the limo.
But before that, she like walked us down, and she's like, honey, can you post this letter for me, and gave a letter to Bob. So we're like in the lift with him and his letter from Lovey.
Bob's got to go to the post box about
yes,
93, isn't
but those are the moments,
and
right?
they were, but the stories come out, because that day he was telling us, when we got in the limo with him, he started regurgitating stories how Hunter S. Thompson had picked him up in this stretch Lincoln one day because he was late for a press conference, and it seemed to people were in different environments, and like we say, they started to tell different stories about themselves, and that happened again and again during the book.
They're all black and white photographs, and it's obviously it's on very good paper, and it really makes makes the photographs really sing. But I mean, that's a deliberate thing. Obviously, you always wanted them to be black and whites, did you? Sonya?
Yes, exactly. I feel like when you take the color out of it, the photos become more emotional when you're not distracted by color. Like, you really look at it, and you're looking at the contrast of it. And I really love like the rock and roll photography from the 60s and 70s. It still resonates so much, and so I feel like hopefully this is what this book does. It will continue like that.
It's a great Christmas present for anyone that loves boxing.
We've not had much time with the books. Are they sort of mini interviews, or are they kind of profiles?
They're all different. There's 28 essays. I mean, Joe Calzaghe kindly did the foreword for us about how you're drawn. Every essay has some elements of a calling. Even Michael Buffer in it, who does the call for the warrior when they walk. I tried to get inside why they are called to do this, because we're civilians and they're not. They live a different type of life, and even the promoters, Frank Warren, Eddie and Barry Hearn, Bob Arum, they're called to do this. They can't get away from it. There's this compelling nature, and particularly the fighters. We talk now about damage to them.
The money helps.
Yeah, the money.
The money helps, but there's people in the book who haven't made money as well, and may not make money. There's some rising stars in there. People like Hamza Shiraz, who talks about the motivation.
I think he's going to do all right.
He is going to do all right, but the motivation of his father's life. His father bowled out the West Indies one day for Gloucestershire. He was a quick bowler, but then he got involved in car crime and went to prison, and how his father is exemplary for him in what not to be in Like, there's so many different essays and different feelings about.
It's a lovely eclectic mix, actually.
Yeah, well, the idea is you can open it on any page and you'll read that page about.
I think that's the thing. It's like, what drives these people to keep getting up and doing what they do? And for me, Gareth's essays are so emotional. I'm in tears sometimes reading them, and they just go through this whole journey of somebody's life and the background of why they're built like this. And it's like Michael Buffer's essay is like one of my favorite ones, because he got cancer
of the throat.
At the throat.
I don't know if you know that.
And was told.
He says he doesn't like his own.
And he doesn't like his own voice. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Really?
But he had, he trusted a surgeon to go in and cut the cancer out, and had no idea if he could ever speak again.
14 years ago. Yeah.
And this essay that Gareth writes talks about, like, he woke up and he just spoke to see if his voice was still there.
I wonder what the first words were he said.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been very tempting, wouldn't it? Just to give it, just to have a run at it.
Rumble would have been in the word.
But how terrifying to think about being in his shoes for that split second, going, am I actually going to be able to speak? And this is my whole life.
So much a part of those big boxing evenings as well. I love his.
So
there's two women in the book as well, by the way, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. We thought as we've just seen them fight again, haven't we? They are. I mean, I talk about them belonging to a different neuro tribe to most people, but the book, Sonya, where can they get the book?
Yeah, where can we find it,
So
Sonya?
the website's hailmarypublishing.co.uk, and you just order it on there. It's
the only place you can get it at the moment, is it?
Yes,
it's not.
it is.
Okay,
it is. Yes.
But if Tashin are out there and they are keen to pick up the book for volume 2, then we'll take a photo with you afterwards, and we'll post it on our social media.
It's on Gareth's Instagram. It's all there.
Okay, we'll put a link to it when we send out a photo from TSH&J. Well, lovely to see you both. Thank you very much for coming in. We wish you well with the book. It's a beautiful thing. You should be very proud of it.
Thank you very much.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.